You've got some tweets. I've seen some other local media have some tweets surrounding the whole Brock Purdy recruiting situation or lack thereof at Arizona State. I think a lot of people locally kind of understood when Herm Edwards was in place here that he didn't really recruit Brock Purdy all that hard. But from what I saw, apparently on ESPN earlier, he had talked about he always knew Brock Purdy was going to be this guy competing in the Super Bowl at the highest level. I'm just curious what you thought about that whole situation.
It was fascinating because, first of all, nobody was really expecting Herm Edwards to recruit Brock Purdy in the first place. Like, no, there was no offense. Nothing bad had happened. Only bringing it up and not necessarily telling the truth about it would cause anybody to criticize you for not getting something done, I don't know, 45 days into the job. Like, imagine 10 years from now, nobody expected Kenny Dillingham to land 5-star Deuce Robinson out of Pinnacle. He gave it a go. But imagine like 10 years from now, Kenny Dillingham is like, yeah, no, actually he committed to us. Like, what? I remember that very much not happening. I remember him scoring touchdowns at USC. And this is one where I was still on the ASU beat, like as a job, and was there in the room on the spring signing day and had conversations with ASU staff members about the public criticism, whether it was from AZ Central, whether it was from my friends at Sports 360 AZ, about not recruiting Brock Purdy. I talked to a bunch of coaches about it. I've stayed in contact with those coaches as Brock Purdy started 4 years at Iowa State, got drafted as Mr. Irrelevant, and has spent 2 years going, 22-5 or whatever with the San Francisco 49ers. It's not ever something that I've even had the ability to forget because it's been talked about constantly over the last 6 years. What did Herm do? What didn't Herm do? And again, I want to reiterate, I was there for this. And so to hear Herm saying, like, I knew he was going to be that dude and I recruited him out of high school and then he went to Iowa, that's 0 for 3, buddy. That's 0 for 3. I mean, we can talk about what actually happened, and it's not anything any Arizona State fan should be ashamed of. They shouldn't really feel like we missed out on anything. We had Manny Wilkins as a senior in Herm Edwards' first year, and he played the majority of that season. He was beat up a little bit, but he showed a lot of heart. He played that full season. And then we brought in, Joey Yellen, Ethan Long, Jaden Daniels. There's 3 quarterbacks. I think a 4th one that started for Baylor this last year. So there was a lot of quarterback recruiting that happened in the class of 2019. But the class of 2018, I've seen people say we already had Joey Yellen and Jaden Daniels in the building. Why would we recruit Brock Purdy? No, this is the year before. And 1 month into Herm getting on the job, there's a lot of public pressure to recruit Brock Purdy. He gets together with Al Luganbill, who I don't think was officially on staff at that time, but was in charge of really building up what ASU's roster was going to look like because Herm had been out of college football for 30 years.
Yeah.
And they look at his film and they're like, not for us. Walk on, maybe. He didn't have any Power 5 stuff yet, so let's go offer him a walk on. He was not the one to be delivering that offer, by the way. That was Donnie Yantis, the recruiting coordinator at the time, tight ends coach. And then Brock Purdy blows up. He's the last great available quarterback. Everybody got to see his film. And one of the reasons he wasn't recruited, got to be very, very honest, about 6 foot. He could play himself in a movie about his high school journey right now. He looks that young, but he's a bad, bad man on the field. Always has been. But for anybody who knows anything about recruiting, if you miss the first 4 games of your junior year, you're probably not going to get a lot of attention because that's what people go off of. And he had mono or something, and he missed those games. And so he tore it up after that. Everybody knew that he was a star. Ho Rubino at Devil's Digest. I think he had a kid at Perry. He was tweeting about him all the time. I was tweeting about him all the time. I used to just post at University of Wyoming, like, offer Brock Purdy, because I knew Arizona State wasn't interested. Knew Todd Graham didn't care. And so Herm thought he was a walk-on. All of a sudden, Alabama, Texas A&M, UCF, Boise State, Iowa State, Kansas, everybody's fighting over him. He's trying to fit in his 5 official visits. And Herm, without seeing any more film, without a single other thing happening to change his mind, bows to public pressure. And he goes to Doniyantis and he says, I want you to go to this kid and I want you to say, we will offer you, but only if you say yes. Which is corny. Like, it's because the only reason that you do that is you want to create some pressure. You also want to let them know, like, you're not going to be embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to put myself out on a limb and look bad because you said no to me.
Yeah.
So, it's manipulative. It's stupid. It happens in recruiting all the time. But Herm didn't make that call.
Yeah.
He wasn't on. He's not the one who did that. Someone else did. And they called and said, if we offer you, will you say yes? And Brock Purdy said, no, thank you. And that's the end of the story. And I get that we were raised by a generation of men who thought that there was no problem whatsoever with saying, you know, I caught a 12-inch fish when it was a 10-inch fish.
Yeah.
But like lying about going fishing is wild as hell. This man is wild. He is a wild man. And I knew he'd be out making the rounds lying about it, and he proved me right. He did it.
It does blow my mind. It blows my mind. And just there's an alternate universe out there where Brock Purdy is an Arizona State Sun Devil, does what he does, and now we're talking about a Super Bowl featuring an Arizona State quarterback throwing touchdown passes to an Arizona State wide receiver, which it's just a storybook type of journey that, again, didn't take place in this reality, but maybe there's some other situation out there.
What kills me about this is there was a 6-foot Arizona State quarterback who ran a 4.4 40 that could have done some of these things, and no one took a chance on him, and that's Taylor Kelly.
Yeah.
Like, I look at Taylor Kelly and Brock Purdy, and they are very similar in what they do, and it just goes to show you that, like, people have to, if somebody has it, you got to give them a shot.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whatever physical limitations there might be, if somebody is a natural leader, if they can grasp your playbook and they can improvise, put them in a situation where you'll find out whether or not they have it or not. They put Brock Purdy in this situation, and they are finding out. But we don't get to claim any credit, especially Herm doesn't get to claim any credit for knowing that he was going to be this great player when he took one look at his film and he said, that's not worth a scholarship, and only presented the idea of a scholarship under public pressure. Like, there's nothing honorable. There's no foresight here. Herm Edwards forgotten more football than I'll ever know, but he definitely forgot something here.
Yeah, no, most definitely, man. Look, Herm Edwards, a thing of the past for Arizona State fans, but seemingly he comes up time and again here in 2024.